Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Woody Allen Retrospective right here on PlanetTyro.com. I'm joined with my host Simon Rad, aka new nickname given by the fans to Simon, Mr. Sofa. Welcome back.
Mr. Sofa?
Yeah. Can you guess why? It's an acronym.
Sofa. So awesome. No. What?
Son of a fucking asshole. That's perfect for Simeon, right? Guys, if you were here last time, actually, you were also called a creep. And I'll tell you why you was called a creep, because last time we spoke about 1998 Celebrity, and there was a whole section where we kind of fawned over Charlize Theron, maybe for a bit too long. It was a nice 10-minute segment about how awesome she was. Well, I say awesome. Simon was focusing on some of her other assets.
What do you mean? Okay, first of all, welcome to the fucking interrogation hour. First of all, I was complimenting her acting while you were talking about that. Nah, she's just eye candy. Nah, this is not a quality performance. I was like, she captured the essence of the character.
Are you sure that's what you said? Because I'm remembering it differently, and that shit's recorded on tape now, so...
Well, because you're the editor, so of course you remember it differently, because you insert shit from previous recordings and all sorts of Frankenstein shit, yeah.
There you go. The selective memory for I'm now deemed Mr. Sofa. I really like that name. It's so corny, so stupid, and you're such an arsehole. It all fits, guys, so...
It sounds like a damn millennial t-shirt.
Fits perfectly for you, Mr. iPhone 10. Anyway, guys, you see on this retrospective, me and Simon, we take jabs at each other, as well as talk about the Woody Allen movies. We're so far in the retrospective now, we're right at the end of the 90s. We're going to do a special one today, but before we get to that, guys, do not forget, we've got a playlist of all the previous movies, guys. Don't forget, we've got the website, WoodyAllenRetro.com. All of these discussions are spoiler discussions by your hosts right here, your casual Woody Allen fans. And we're going to continue with the next one that, to be honest with you, I almost forgot. And Simon, actually, last week, he actually said, hey, let's not forget about this one. Very special element in the filmography. And you know what, Simon, you're right. So don't blame me for the sidestep. This week, it was Simon's idea. So Simon, why don't you tell us what we're getting into this week that the people don't already know by looking at the title?
Well, once again, to clear up the confusion, I just technically said, I hope you dumbass didn't forget about one movie. I didn't say we have to do it, but here we are yet again. So, still in 1998, and this is the first animated movie on the list.
And only, so far, anyway. But most likely, yes, which we get into the reason for that in a bit. But a special one as well, because this is the number 2 CGI animated movie ever made, at least on the big screen. Basically, the follow-up, or riding right on the tail of Toy Story. And it's called ANTZ, or ANTZ, if you get the pun. You know what? Let me get into that right now. You know, Simon, you got this talent. You see, Simon's one of those motherfuckers, yeah? When things need to be conveniently explained, like, for example, he's a big Xbox motherfucking fanboy. He will make up any excuse for Microsoft. They can do no wrong. He's got every excuse under the sun. But if you're talking Sony or Nintendo or any other, or Sega, this guy's got every fucking bullet against them. So
not to derail the conversation, but you're telling me this while being surrounded by how many Amiibos? You look like one of them damn horror movie villains with all them dolls around you.
Like, fair enough. You just called it Amiibos and it's called Amiibo. So you've just shown your neglect for everything other than Microsoft once again. But guys, we do digress. What I'm trying to say is, it's called ANTZ, motherfucker. Okay, you looking into this shit? It's called. No. Z.
The main character's name is Z, so it's like a pun because it's not only ants as in plural, but also as in and Z, meaning just another ant, as in A B C D, X Y Z, like last on the list. But at the same time, it's his story, and the moral of the story is that one ant can make a difference. And let me just get on with the damn summary before we get into another segment about some bullshit.
Go on.
Basically, if you wouldn't guess from a little title discussion, this animated movie focused on the values of individualism and speaking up for yourself and believing that you can be whatever you want, despite maybe society dictating to you otherwise. So we open up with a very Woody Allen opening. You can see why they got him for this character of this ant, Z. Get it? Get it? Talking to his therapist and talking about he feels like his life is pointless and he's just one of the many, and he feels such a large ant colony being surrounded by millions and millions of identical worker ants, where he was determined by birth that he has to be a worker because you're either a worker or a soldier. Then he feels kind of insignificant. And his therapist's answer is that this is a breakthrough. You're absolutely right. You are insignificant. And that's kind of the general tone of his life. So basically, the ant colony is a mixture of, I guess, old school European monarchies, Russian dictatorship, and I guess the Roman Empire. The plot is what you expect. Most of his days go absolutely normal, and it's pretty mundane, aside from hot-ass working colleague who's a cute girl, and his best friend who's a soldier ant, but they've been childhood buddies played by Sylvester Stallone. By the way, this is a proper Woody Allen movie because the cast is once again phenomenal. I mean, you have Gene Hackman, you have Christopher Walken in there somewhere.
Most of the people actually Woody Allen worked with before, Sly Stallone, Sharon Stone, and Christopher Walken. He's actually worked with all three of them before, which is a really...
Yeah. Sly Stallone had a little cameo early on.
Yeah.
Which was it? Bananas?
Bananas, correct, on the train. Yeah.
Yeah. Dan Aykroyd's in this. Jennifer Lopez before she was famous, because, little trivia for you, her first album that got recognition anyway, on the 6th, came out the following year, 1999. So this is once again a Woody Allen introduction, a Woody Allen first. I don't know how much, how big of a hand he had in the casting, but it's like a Woody Allen cast, basically.
I do believe that when you look behind the scenes of this movie, it does feel like this is an animated movie crafted around Woody Allen. And you know what, Simon? Yeah, and before we get started, guys, I actually want to play a clip for you guys. I sent this to Simon, so I can't play it and you can do it at the same time. Let me insert this clip because I want you guys to hear something about Woody Allen and his, just a funny little anecdote about him and this movie moving forward.
Obviously, you're not just a writer, you're an actor. And before that, you were a stand-up comedian. What's the process of reading on tape or on audio like? Is it like any of those talents, or does it require a different kind of talent?
I thought it was going to be a breeze. I wrote these pieces, sit down, and, I don't have to memorize anything, and I just read them. But I can only liken it to years ago I was assured that the easiest movie job I would have was to be the cartoon voice of an ant. And they said, all you have to do is sit in the sound studio and just read these things, and we'll put it in the mouth of the ant, and you just don't worry about it. Well, that's what they promised me. But when I went in, I found it one of the hardest jobs I ever had, and I never did it again.
So another behind the scenes Woody Allen revelation that apparently.
Why am I not surprised? Yeah,
apparently this was such a hard task for him, and I tried to find out more of what he was going on about. Maybe he was being a over perfectionist with the voice performance. I think that was it, from what I ascertained. But before we get started, I do want to say this, because this is an animated movie. You would think that me and Simon can't dig into a lot of things because there's a lot more themes. It's wrong. This might actually be a longer discussion than you might think, because again, I do think this movie was crafted around Woody Allen, and even though it's a children's movie, a lot of the themes are the things Woody Allen would do in his films. It's just that because it's an animated film, they have to tread very lightly. It's very much watered down. But when you think about animation today with things like fucking, what was that Seth Rogen one?
Sausage Party.
Exactly, Sausage Party.
Where they even had like a Woody Allen character in there played by, was it Ed Norton? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I was thinking that, wow, man, even when I was watching the movie, Woody Allen was pushing a lot of the same jokes he's done before, and he would have taken them further like he's done in his other movies, but he couldn't because of animated movies. So let me start by saying this as a negative. My biggest problem with the movie is that I don't think Woody Allen could really take the comedy to where it really needed to go. It's unique for what it is, but still it's kind of, I don't want to say tepid, but it's kind of easy going with his comedy. It's just, it's funny, but if you're a Woody Allen fan, you know where he wants to go with these jokes, but he has to rein it in. And because of that, you watch it and you're like, it's okay, but Woody would have went a little bit further and a little bit more raunchy with the jokes. But for what it is, it's fine.
Well, I don't know. It felt to me like they tried to push it, because at one point in the introduction scene to Sly Stallone's character, I think he even cusses a bit. He says, "Quit your bitching" or "Quit your bickering."
Yeah.
But I was like, did he just say bitching? It was very close. Something you would never see nowadays in. Yeah, he did. He did say that, didn't he?
He did. I saw it. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. They were pushing it. And it's hard because we're in 2017 and animation is, Rick and Morty and all this Adventure Time, Adult Swim. So much animation's pushing the boundaries now. Even, to be honest with you, even Disney, they get away with some more risque jokes than they would back in the day. And look, the first time I watched this movie back in the day, I thought it was great. Watching it now, I just felt like it was held back, and I can't really fault the movie for it. It's just that the comedic sense would have been better if they couldn't hold back. But what can you do? Well, I mean, I got a lot of positives to say, but I just want to get that negative out of the way first.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, the movie's biggest drawback, its ambition.
Yeah.
Because, you're right. It was crafted around Woody Allen, because a lot of the plot after our, a little introduction, it's basically of Love and Death.
Yes, exactly.
It's very similar.
Yeah, it is.
Basically, he meets the princess, who is bound to marry some douchebag general, and to see her again, he switches places with Sly Stallone to become a warrior ant, a soldier ant, for a day. But he gets wrapped up in this conspiracy, and he gets shipped off to war, and he becomes the accidental hero. And then the movie actually has a lot going on, because besides the political intrigue and the commentary about, everybody says one ant is expendable, the only thing that matters is the colony, and he becomes like this, by accident, this icon of a revolution, and the worker ants start striking. That's just a warm-up, because then him and the princess have to run away and discover that, in this universe, actually there are humans. There is a world out there. So it goes on to another whole adventure, which could have been a movie on its own. I mean, nowadays that would have been a whole movie of just them exploring the real world. To
me, there was even a religious aspect to it, because paradise and finding the forbidden.
Oh yeah, a little bit of an atheist joke where they're like, this is like I forgot what insectopia or something like.
That's it, exactly.
And then it turns out to be just just a damn trash can, with a bunch of 90s stereotype stoner, unemployed losers.
Yeah.
What was that Mike Myers character, from that movie with Tia Carrere?
I cannot remember.
Oh, come on now. It was a classic.
Not Wayne's World, right?
Wayne's World, that's the one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, see, you should remember. Shit, you're a bit older than me. I was like 2.
No, I just couldn't remember the character's name, but he hasn't done a lot of films anyway. But let me talk about the things I really like, because honestly, if you're going to do an animated film, the first thing you should get back is animation. And I have to say, man, what was it, 1998? It was only 20-something years later. I think the animation, the character design is very clean, and it looks really good. It's a little bit dull color-wise. The color's a little bit dull, but everything outside of the ant colony, when they get out to the green lands, the water, and actually the ants themselves, they look really well. And I know it was DreamWorks Animation that did it. I actually think the animation is very good for the time, and I think it still holds up today.
Yeah, I mean, that's going back to the point of the movie being super ambitious. I felt like all the separate parts are top-notch. The cast is great. Voice acting is solid. The music's very good. The animation is very good. The only thing that really is a problem, that the different pieces, because they're pushing the boundaries so much. Like, this is the second movie after Toy Story. It's very fresh technology. It's very innovative for the time. It doesn't gel together as well. It doesn't come together as well, because they're doing these things for the first time and there's no blueprint. So I can understand why Woody was probably very stressed, because he's a perfectionist. And
exactly.
When the movie started, it was closer to a video game cutscene than an animated film, because the voice, the way it syncs up with the character was a bit off to me. Like, you don't usually notice that in animation, whether it's old school 2D, a new 2D animation, or 3D, which is the standard now, CGI animation. You just accept it for what it is. It kind of just works.
But I still see worse than this today, though. That's the funny thing.
No. When something's actively bad, you see it. Yeah, I mean, this movie was very good. It's just they had to push the boundaries, so they were in untouched territory. Yeah. So a lot of it is experimental, but you can see real ambition in some of the scenes that are very creative. Yeah. I just name a few things when they're stuck in the bubble. The water bubble, I thought that was really great. That was actually like a trailer shot that really sold the movie. And even watched that today, just the concept of them not being strong enough to even push in or get out of the bubble because, against their size. Scientifically, I think it actually makes a bit of sense. I've actually seen ants stuck in water. So I'm like, you know what? That's actually a point of perfection of them, attention to detail that I actually really thought was clever, as well as the part, as you were alluding to, where they go to the picnic, wherever they are, and you see this glass over them, and you realize they're getting magnified by a human, and just a little tribute to Akira, right?
There you might as well be. Yeah, there's that. There's a bit where even they're stuck to the shoe. One of the series I love, Chippendale Rescue Rangers, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. There's a lot of these things where you're living in a minuscule, larger than life world because you're shrunk. That makes it very adventurous, and those have been some of my favorite. Hey, look, there was a trailer released this week for a movie called Downsizer with Matt Damon, which is about, humans create this technology to shrink themselves, and they take advantage because obviously they can make these toy houses and live grander lives. I just like the concept of using, minuscule characters in a world. It actually makes it a bit more adventurous. And like I heard you yawn when I said Chippendale Rescue Rangers, by the way. I love that show.
You know what? Pass. Skip. I'm not even gonna go there. You enjoy your amiibos. I hope they do a crossover with Disney, so you can get your Chip and Dale amiibos as well to the collection.
Once again, thank you, Simon.
But what I wanted to say is that it was a classic plot line. Back in the day, every cartoon had a episode like that, especially in the 80s. Yeah. Everybody got shrunk once. Even the crappy 90s Iron Man show had an episode where he had to usually. You got shrunk, and then at some point they injected you in somebody's veins.
Inner Space, the whole movie called Inner Space with Dennis Quaid. I love that movie.
Yeah, exactly. That's where they got it from. And, you always had to go in and cure the person, either perform surgery or they had a virus and you had to fight the virus. That was like a cliche plot line.
Even Ant-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yeah.
Well, that's a lot later. But yeah. I know what you mean, though.
It's always popular. I was just saying it's always popular, I meant.
Yeah, it's always popular. It's a great visual concept, and it works beautifully for animation.
Yeah, definitely.
To speak about, like, people are like, okay, so what's up? What happened to the sequels? Did Woody hate this movie that much? Or what was going on? I mean, the thing with this movie is that already controversy, that this came out the same year as A Bug's Life.
Oh, God damn it.
And honestly, when I was a kid, because I was the target audience for this, right? Or at least in theory, for the animated movie stuff. This wasn't for me, nor was Bug's Life, because I was the type of kid, I didn't like these. I probably would have liked this more, actually, because I didn't like family films. I didn't like the music-heavy, joke-heavy, family-friendly, cutesy animation. I like stuff like, Akira, Ghost in the Shell was my favorite. You know why? Because it had titties, man. I remember the music. Yeah, do you remember the music video for King of My Castle, where they used the? Yeah, I was like, oh, what's this? That's the kind of animation I like. The Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Again, great movie. So I really wasn't interested in this. I maybe saw a few Disney movies like Pocahontas and Toy Story when I was a kid. And I was like, meh. But.
Exposed Simon, you see? He is awesome.
But when I got older, I learned to appreciate the more family-friendly tones and the lighthearted nature that teaches kids. I'm full of shit. But anyway, point is that I think this movie's a much better film than A Bug's Life because it has multiple dimensions. It's actually clever. it's not dumbed down for the audience. I think kids can enjoy the different creative set pieces with the ants doing all sorts of things where they roll themselves up to a big ball, or they're climbing, or especially when they go out in the outside world, the animators play a lot with size and everything's giant, so they're flying across the air. It's very visually appealing, but also there's a lot of jokes that adults can appreciate. And like you said, this is like a Woody Allen movie. It deals with the same themes of, what's your place in the universe, the human condition. I don't think if you watch this as a parent, if you have half a brain, that you would be bored. Probably nowadays you would, because nowadays everybody seems to be a fucking idiot, and they need a damn music montage in the middle of the emoji movie or whatever garbage Sony trashes out every year.
I mean, I just well, first of all, let me go back and talk about why I think this movie was catered to Woody Allen specifically, just in case people say, "Oh, what are you talking about?" Let me tell you something, man. There's so many flags in this movie that just show you that these guys wanted Woody Allen for his, Hollywoodness, his fame at the time. And the movie opens on a shot of a New York type city. That's the first thing you see. And it goes down to him on a psychiatrist with his therapist. Classic Woody Allen. And his whole first monologue is a typical Woody Allen monologue. It ends again with a shot on another New York, the same New York type city, and it ends on jazz music.
It ends a shot with New York. I mean, it has the Twin Towers in there. So.
I wasn't sure 100%, so I just was going to give them the benefit of that. But either way, it was that. They had jazz music at the end. It was his complete vehicle. And I will say, man, Woody Allen as a voice actor for this character, I think he did a fine job. I mean, I know he's an old man and his character doesn't seem to be that old, but I just thought he was fine, and as well as everyone else. And the reason why this is specifically poignant for me, there's another fucking movie that you might have even forgotten about, Simon, that tried to do this exact same fucking thing 10 years later, epically failed. Do you know what that movie's called?
I don't know. Tell me.
It's called A Goddamn B Movie. You remember that movie?
They even got somebody who had like a lawsuit for sexual assault. Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
With Seinfeld and your boy Will Whiff.
Wait. A B movie? Didn't that have the guy who made Birth of a Nation last year?
I don't know. I don't actually know if.
Because one of the ridiculous things when they, again, another sidetrack, but they brought up his lawsuit from back in the college days when he was accused of rape.
Yeah. And
I was like, but this dude made family films for the past 8 years. Why didn't you bring it up then? Isn't it more inappropriate to have somebody with that kind of background in a children's film than a movie he self-funded? It was kind of like... We
could have a whole conversation about that.
I guess sidetrack. Yeah. Fuck this.
That's fine. But that's fine. Let's leave it in there because basically, you're right. But Jerry Seinfeld was the helm for that movie. It was it's the same kind of concept. The bees are worker bees, serving honeybees. You got another sarcastic character. You got a whole stew of Hollywood actors. And that movie was fucking terrible. Everyone hated it. And I really felt that they were trying to capitalize what Ants did. And Ants is way more fondly remembered than a B movie, which people absolutely hated. So
people remember this movie. I mean, the thing is, there are some animated films you can't get away from, like The Lion King. That movie gets brought out every 5 years again on whatever format is the most popular, or the newest or the most technically advanced, and it's a big hit. But I never really see DreamWorks really pimping on this movie. Like I said, they never did a sequel, as far as I'm aware. And I don't know, because the funny thing is that with Woody Allen being, a legend at this point and having, 30 plus movies under his belt?
Yeah.
You want to know how this movie's popularity and gross fares compared to, all the other ones? Because we had a bad.
Yeah, let's get to that in a minute. I just want to wrap up some other things. We're going to leave the best for last. But what I do want to say is, look, man, I think this movie is remembered mostly, going back to something you said before, it's just because there's competition between it and A Bug's Life. And again, Pixar came out of Toy Story, then they came out of A Bug's Life, and at the time, this was the beginning of the Pixar monopoly, the Pixar/Disney monopoly, where they were the only ones that were meant to be doing really great looking CG. And then again, I think that's why this movie is remembered fondly, because it's one of the early CG movies that is visually very decent. And that's why it's remembered fondly. And it's pit against A Bug's Life. I don't know why, because I hate A Bug's Life. It's so boring. It's such an annoying movie. And Pixar fans do look upon it as the black sheep, that and the good side. Pixar got a bad stinkers, that, the Good Dinosaur, a few ones, but that was one they wanted to forget.
The Good Dinosaur was decent, man. They hate Cars usually. Cars 2 especially.
No.
Right.
Even Cars 2, it sold a shitload of toys. It's a shitload of merchandise. So.
Oh, it made that money. I'm just talking in terms of cinematic quality.
Yeah, you're talking about critically. Critically hated, but again, Bug's Life was critically, financially, it failed on every level. And that's why it is the real black sheep of Pixar's filmography. Ants is just a one-off with a good all-star cast that still looks good. And it's a Woody Allen vehicle. Again, it's not remembered for what it is, being a kids movie, but it's just remembered for being overall decent and somewhat forgettable. So again, I was more of a massive fan of this movie before I rewatched it. Now I'm just like, the animation's the standout thing about the movie. Everything else is just like a very super mediocre Woody Allen movie. If you're not a fan of Woody Allen and you watch the movie, I don't know how you're going to feel about it. You might think it's just forgettable or whatever, especially now in 2017. Back then, let's get to the audience scores.
Although I will say this, maybe nowadays you would have the exact opposite reaction, because these days a movie like this in animated form is so rare. You know, we have a lot of adult animation on television, but in terms of the big screen is still like Sausage Party was it. Yeah. And Sausage Party was kind of dumb for the most part, you know? I would say this is a better movie than Sausage Party, except that, you know, I can't say the damn
Sausage
stupid
Party,
movie.
It's crass. Sausage Party. It's a very crass movie.
It got away with more. You know, it got away with more, and they could push it a lot further than this movie did. I mean, that movie's straight up for adults. That's it. Yeah. I mean, it has the same themes of paradise and escaping, you know, the confined space and the revelation that, hey, all the characters are being conned, and then having a deeper real-life political message and all that. So they pushed it further. But I'm just saying, if somebody puts this on for their kids today, like, okay, this is a kids film, they were like, oh, I actually get most of the jokes. You know, there's something here for me. This is actually smarter than I thought it would be.
We heard Woody Allen in that little clip I played before saying this was the hardest role he ever had to do, was complaining about the movie. I didn't want to forget to ask you this question, because a lot of people take these animated roles just for the cash.
Yeah, sure.
Woody Allen said that, you know, from that little clip, he said it was an easy sell, it was meant to be easy, so he thought it was just the easy thing. Now, I like to think personally that Woody Allen is a very diverse director, an actor that likes to do different things, and this was one of the times where you thought, what the hell, let me just try it out. But from your perspective, why do you think he would want to do this at this time of his career anyway?
I don't know, to be honest, but I said this before. I always enjoy him in other things. I think the fact that this was an adventure movie just made it more exciting. And I would have loved to see him do more comedies like this, you know? I really think it was a missed opportunity that he kept making, you know, a movie every single year rather than more collaborations where he could have been a producer and actually acted a bit more in something that's more of an action film or more of an adventure film. I'm not saying, you know, be in the next Lethal Weapon or something like that. I'm just saying switch it up a bit. This is a Woody Allen movie, but it has more of a grander scale, a sense of adventure, you know, and it really works well for him. So maybe he found it to be an easy avenue to do it while still keeping to a schedule of a movie a year, because he didn't have to take a break. You know, he made a movie in 97, 98, and 99 and just squished us in the middle of it. I don't know. You know, you ask him.
Well, the only thing we can get about him, like all his other movies, when he speaks about them now, is that how they're not good enough, and he's just a moany old git right now. And again, I don't know, man. To be honest with you, if you look at Woody Allen now, he says he does a lot of things because of his kids. He even casts a lot of these younger actors because his kids are fans. He said that publicly in a lot of interviews. That Justin Timberlake, all these people he's found over recent years. I'm sidestepping, but I just want to say this could have been another one. Like, hey, my kids are animated movies. I'm very popular. Why not? And that's not a hit against him. And it, honestly...
Yeah, and it's just innovation. Like, again, this was a very innovative movie. True, this was already in production before Toy Story came out. So, again, it's just dipping his toes into something that's very innovative in the film landscape, on the film landscape.
And just in case you guys are wondering how old that clip is, I added just so you know, it was 2015. So it was fairly recent. And he hasn't, like, that was that... You know, in 2000, now he's changed his mind. He's still, I'll never do that again. And Again, it's just also to put it in context, that clip was also from him talking about doing audiobooks, and he's not a fan of narrating, period. So, but anyway, before I got interrupted about 10 minutes ago, let's talk about the audience scores and the critical feedback. I was shocked. I was really shocked, and you are going to talk about the box office after what I'm about to tell you. Rotten Tomatoes score, this is certified fresh fucking highly by high critics. This is one of their most celebrated animated movies, and the audience score is very high. So what do you have to say that? Because A Bug's Life, not so much. So I'm not going to say they loved it, but Rotten Tomatoes, the critics loved this movie. They thought it was very, and I don't know, maybe I can see why, because again, it's an animated movie, skewed, it's much more adult, especially in the themes, and you know, but I was surprised at the scores. It's in the high 8s, and Rotten Tomatoes gave it a certified fresh, which is not just a fresh, it's like an accommodation on top of being fresh. So I was like, really? This? Okay. So Woody Allen again with the accolades.
Hey, you know me. I don't care any about that. But what I do care about is money. So I had a bet with you because I told you that I bet this movie is the highest grossing Woody Allen movie out of all of them. And what do you know? With $171 million, it's far above everything else. This is Woody Allen's most successful movie. This is the most successful thing he ever did, at least in the scale of gross.
Now, when you say that, I know people are going to be very upset to say that this is a Woody Allen movie, but to be honest with you, I see this very much as a Woody Allen movie. I know he didn't direct it and he only stars the main character, but honestly, this film was crafted for him. He helms it front to back, and technically it isn't a Woody Allen movie, but shit, man, it is. In my opinion, it is. And for him to make, give us the stats. How much did he actually make against his other movies?
I think the closest one that comes in after this is, I can say the movie's name because it's further down the list. It's Midnight in Paris, and that's around $56 million, I think. And yeah, 56. And then Hannah and Her Sisters, which I'm still baffled by how much money that movie made, or why anybody really likes that movie that much, minus the Woody Allen parts. But that comes in after that, around $40 million. I guess that's inflation adjusted. And then, something that's more expected, like Manhattan, which is a cinematic event. They still play it today. Yeah. We spoke about how there's a contract that you have to show it in CinemaScope whenever you show it, even on television, in that aspect ratio. So that comes in at $39 million, and pretty much equal $38 million is Annie Hall, which by critics' standard, his best movie. So after that, the list is kind of expected, a little bit of variety, but we're not here to talk about necessarily box office gross.
Just to be clear, you're saying it's nearly 3 times the amount of
it is far above it, because keep in mind, other Woody Allen movies, they don't do merchandise or anything like that. So this movie made a lot more money. I'll tell you that. It probably did a lot better on home video at the time as well.
It's a kid's movie. I know people are going to be like, that's the Woody Allen. Like you just said, he doesn't market his movies, doesn't care about any of that. He just puts the movies out. And obviously, with the animated movie, it's a shared, you got to pay all these actors. So if you divvy up and deal with the advertising, you might not see it as such a big win because, Sly Stallone, Sharon Stone, all these other people and the advertising and the merchandise. So maybe it's not fair to give it that much accolade, because how much is Woody actually getting himself of that pie?
Oh, I mean, sure. But it's just funny that, I think most people, adults, and even kids who grew up on this and enjoyed the humor, probably would really like Woody Allen's other films. But that never happened because he doesn't think like that. He doesn't think that this is a vehicle to increase his audience or followership or fan base. So it's just kind of ironic how this movie did so much better than anything else he's ever done.
Yeah, it is. But it's not all about the money. I know you said that, but it's not all about the money, Simon. It's about the the critical feedback, the enjoyment of the people's.
And he doesn't care about that either. He doesn't ever goes to the Oscars. This guy's on record. He in the beginning on Annie Hall, he says critics are dumb. Like he actually pulls one of the directors at it in the movie theater line and says, Can you believe this guy? He's like, no, he knows nothing about my work. He's a fucking idiot. Yeah. And in terms of the audience, we all know how Woody thinks about it. He's like, I don't care.
They still love him.
I don't care what you like.
They still love him, and he is 70% of this movie. He carries the movie very well, by the way, as a voice actor. I said before, he does well as his character in the movie, and the critics love the movie to my surprise. I don't think it's remembered as well because there's so much animated movies that have just swallowed it and are more memorable. But hey, man, for his first animated movie and his only one, he should be happy. And I don't think he should be as bitter as he is about this movie. I think that he's bitter about everything he does. So I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. There's no surprise here. But what was kind of surprising to me, or not surprising, but I felt like the one actor that should do more of this was Sly Stallone, because he was really freaking good in this. I was like, You're a really good voice actor, you know? You really nailed this character.
Well, in the 90s, when he did Copland, he's a very diverse actor as well. I mean,
He's very underrated because he keeps going on about how I got to do action because, I got the voice and I don't have that much range. But I'm like, whenever you try, you actually do a real gem. Like you said, Copland, most recently in Creed, the First Blood movie. Nighthawks is a great underrated Sly Stallone film again. So he has some real gems under his belt, but he was another highlight for me.
He was good.
Really, really good. Like his voice was just very smooth and he was the first guy, despite the animation limitations in terms of like nowadays they can do facial mapping, you can actually do some mocap and all that stuff to make the animated character look even closer to the actor. Back in the day, you just really had to draw somebody who kind of looked like Sly Stallone, but he was the first act that I could just completely see the character. I didn't think about the actor doing the voice. Yeah. I was just like, this is a character. This is the actual character. It came to life.
I got to digress again for the last time. We're going to wrap this up, guys. That, one of my favorite little fan channels on YouTube, Cinemassacre. I know you saw this. James Wolf released a video about Sly Stallone doing these really great quotes, and that was really good. And Sly Stallone, he's a very he's an underrated actor. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, if you're on YouTube, look at the screen right now. I put a link on the screen. Check out this video someone made about Sly Stallone and his quotes in the movie industry. And I just thought everything he said here was on point. And I know people might think he's a meathead like Arnold Schwarzenegger. You don't know people. You don't really know what people have been through. And I just thought he had a lot of wisdom as a director. And hey, man, let's wrap this shit up. This is Ants. This review definitely went all over the place. But
no, it did. Whatever. Basically, it's better than Bug's Life. That's it. We can settle the 20-year debate. If anybody was still on the fence, like, which one is better? I don't know. Well, now you know.
And guys, if you completely disagree, we'll be happy for you to write an essay and leave a comment down in the comment section below. Or better yet, tweet Simon at Simeon_man. Tweet your long discussion or rebuttal on why Bug's Life is fucking awesome and how ANTZ is fucking shit.
There you go. You're learning now. Yeah, ANTZ. Get it? You need to pay attention.
Ants in your fucking pants. Guys, just get the hell out of here. Thanks for watching. If you like the discussion of me and Simon just rambling on about these goddamn movies, even the ones you don't want us to talk about, like ANTZ, let us know in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe to us because we have a lot of fun doing this. And if I didn't have fun doing this, guys, I would not be doing this. So thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, and we'll see you on the next recording where we're actually going to do the last movie in the 90s for Woody Allen, which again is going to be a good one.
Yeah, we got some more move Z's coming up. Yeah, absolutely.
See you in the next one.